KPBS On Demand is supported by La Jolla Playhouse, presenting The Family Album, a new musical featuring original power pop songs. Mia, a young musician on the verge of success, returns to the home she once left behind. On stage now. Tickets at lajollaplayhouse.org.
Welcome in, San Diego. It's Jade Hindman. On today's show, celebrating the Americans with Disabilities Act. Hear about the competitiveness of adaptive sports and the inclusiveness of wheelchair dancing. This is KPBS Midday Edition, connecting our communities through conversation. July marks Disability Pride Month. It celebrates the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. Well, here in San Diego, there's all kinds of ways to celebrate disability pride. One is by getting involved with the adaptive sports community here. From surfing to dancing, there's something for everyone. Up in Oceanside, adaptive surfers take over the lineup on the last Sunday of every month. It's a program called Waves4All. Joining me now are some of the surfers who make it all happen. John White is founder of Waves4All. Andy Zirzow is a competitive adaptive surfer. And also Quinn Waitley. She's a professional adaptive surfer too. Welcome to you all.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Hi.
Well, it's great to have you all here in studio. John, I'll start with you. You started this Waves4All 8 years ago. For those who don't know how, or much about it rather, how would you describe adaptive surfing?
So adaptive surfing is generally surfing that's been modified slightly or in a ways for individuals with disabilities to be able to access the ocean and surf the waves just as anybody else. And so for adaptive surfers, they might need a board modification. They might need assistance in the water from other individuals. And so it's kind of looking at each person individually, figuring out what's the safest and best way for them to be able to access the ocean, and then going out and making that happen.
Quinn, how did you start surfing with Waves4All?
So I always grew up playing sports and in the water, and I actually met John. I actually don't remember how we met. We either met in the water or the beach at some surf contest, and he was just water safety out there. So we made a connection, and then John invited me out, and we've been friends ever since. I think 10 years ago.
About
maybe?
10 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And a decade flies fast, I know.
It does. So.
Andy, what about
Hi.
you? Yeah, tell me about your introduction to adaptive sports and surfing.
Well, adaptive sports and surfing is basically, I was injured at 51 years old and my life was destroyed and I was just lost. I had tried a number of sports, including like rugby and things like that, and great activities, great sports, but they just weren't me. And, I stumbled across, learned about adaptive surfing, and I kind of knew that it would be something I've got to try. And fortunately, there's organizations out there that I really sought out to find at the time. It was not easy. And so, I found different groups, and really one of the mainstays has been Waves4All. Because not only do you get an introduction or, an experience in the water, but you can work on things like progression and, just becoming a lifestyle instead of just something you do.
Right. So you've gone through a lot of different sports. Surfing stuck for you. What's going through your mind and your body when you're surfing? I mean, how would you describe that sensation?
It's an interesting sensation because there's tremendous excitement, but there's really a lot of calmness out there. It's a very calm moment until you just drop in, and then at that point, it's just a wild ride. You're hanging on. Your eyelids are getting peeled back sometimes because you're dropping in such a steep wave, and you're just laying into the wave, so you just don't you don't pearl, and so it's a rush. But then you get out of that moment and you kind of size up what's going on in the wave, and there's kind of a calmness, and you start carving these turns, and it just comes from the inside of you. You don't necessarily think about it. You don't force it. It just kind of happens. So once you get to that point, it's just a flow, and it's just beautiful.
Quinn, how would you describe it?
Surfing's a wild ride. So I was born with my disability, cerebral palsy, and it's, you never know how it's going to affect your child. And I grew up with 7 sisters, all very athletic. We all love the beach. And, when you become disabled or you're born disabled, the beach is like the last place you think of going. And my family made it work. And I lay prone on the board, so I can't paddle into waves, which is really the dream version of surfing. So I get pushed in the wave and paddle back out, thanks to my water safety and people like John making me feel comfortable enough to go surfing. And even if they're small waves, you never know, I'm completely trusting that the water safety has my back. And so you kind of have this bond, and with that I can just kind of be reckless and crazy, whether it's a big bomb or small waves. So since I lay down, I get to say that every wave is pretty much overhead, whether it's 2 feet or 6 feet, But, right now my dream this year is to try to get barreled on a 2-foot wave.
All right.
So
that we're gonna see. We're gonna wish it for you. Listen, so independence is huge, and John, I know a big part of Waves for All is the idea of surfing independence. Tell me what you mean by that.
So a lot of individuals with disabilities, like Quinn mentioned, the ocean can seem the furthest away. It can really feel like something that would just be such a task to put together, to do it safely and to have a good time and to really connect with the ocean properly. And so for us, we want to bring that to all San Diegans. If you have a disability, we want you to be able to feel like the ocean's something that you can not only access, but that you can, like Andy said, progress in and get yourself better and better. And that takes time. There's not a surfer out there who's gone out on his first day and, paddled out a big rock and gotten barreled. It doesn't happen. And so for us, we understand the progression of surfing. We're here to stoke the identities of surfers. Whether you have a disability or not, being a surfer is one of the most powerful identities in humans possess. And the fact that to put that on top of being a San Diegan, oh my gosh, what a blessing that we have here. So to be able to allow somebody to go through the process and to not be rushed, to take their time and to work towards whatever level of independence that is in the water for them. And if that means they need somebody out there with them to help them, we have those folks. And if you're listening and you're thinking, hey, I want to help, we need your help. We need people to help people get in the water. But ideally, we want surfers, if they're able to be able to surf independently, just like you or me. And so we have a lot of folks who are autistic, folks who are even visually impaired. And getting out in the water and surfing independence, what that can do for an individual, and again, in terms of that identity, it is such a strong component for mental health, physical health, family health. And again, being a San Diegan, this is who we are.
With that sense of independence, there's also a great community there too. You spoke to people being able to come help build that. What kind of support have you found from the Waves for All community, Quinn?
For me, I just make a friend every time I go. But for water safety, especially, the bond that you create with water safety is so special. Before John, it was just my dad, and it's taken me about, I would say, 6 to 10 years before I didn't really trust anyone to push me into waves. And I think John and another friend, Kevin, and even Darren, they're the only ones I trust to push me into waves. And now I have my brother-in-laws, but it's hard to get them trained, and they just need time in the water, and communication is key to learning to read waves. I'm still learning how to read waves. I found out this weekend I tried wake surfing, and my buddy Kevin was like, Quinn, go play over there. And I was just like, what? Where? And he's like, over there. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
So even though as I've been a professional athlete for Team USA for 10 years, I'm still learning, and that's my favorite part about surfing. Like, no matter what level you're at or water safety, you get to learn together and play in the water. So
Yeah. Well, Andy, because you're both competitive surfers, what do you love about competing?
What do I love about competing? Well, basically, what it says is this: at this one moment in time, can you put together your best, and you're put to the test. And so I guess I like that challenge. It doesn't always come out, and there's a lot of learning that comes with it. But I think that kind of sums it up. When that horn buzzes, it's just like I used to race bikes. When that gate drops, it's there's a transformation at that point in time, and if I may piggyback off what something
Absolutely.
John was saying, because he was talking about independence and about how this creates surfing independence, but it translates into life. It can actually really change how you live. So when I started, I was afraid to really kind of leave the house at times. And, finding something that I wanted to do so bad forced me to get out of that comfort zone and do things that I wasn't comfortable with. And so it translates beyond the sport.
What advice do you have for people who are scared, like you once were, to get out of their comfort zone, to leave the house, and take part in some of those things that they are so deeply want to be part of?
I guess I would say take it a step at a time. You don't have to dive into the deep end. So I had a lot of concerns when I first started surfing. As a C6, C7 incomplete quadriplegic, I have a lot of skin sensation issues too. So just the touching of the water on my skin was bizarre, extremely painful. And so what I did was I went to a pool and I would get in the uncomfortable water until I couldn't take it, and then I'd get out. And then I got back in until I couldn't take it and get out. And I didn't know if it was going to go anywhere, but I was hoping that I would get used to it, I could stay in longer, and I could, kind of acclimate to it. And it sure did. I use a wetsuit almost year-round, and that's the biggest reason is the sensations that are altered on my skin. So
you had to make the modifications necessary.
Yes.
And trust the process, really.
And you got to take that step. Mm-hmm. You've got to take that step, and don't make it so overwhelming where you cannot make that step. You have to make it doable, and then from there, progress.
Right.
Progress.
Right. Well, Quinn, what about you? What keeps you hooked on competitive surfing?
I've always been an athlete, and so with my CP, like a lot of free surfers, and John can speculate, but a lot of free surf go for like 2-hour sessions or more, and I joke around and I say cerebral palsy is the last disability to surf. I have a lot of spasticity, so I get cold immediately, and I'm very spastic, so my muscles are always contracting, and it's really painful. But competitive surfing, they give us a time slot between 20 and 30. So I was like, oh, my body can handle that. And I already love competing. And back in the day, I was the only female, so I got to surf with the prone assist men, and I would hold my own. Mm-hmm. They got super salty that I was
more than
beating them. So, I mean, it's just fun. And my favorite part about competing is growing the sport. The 20 to 30 minute time slot is enough for me. Mm-hmm. Unless we go somewhere tropical, but where we surf, it's not really tropical, and
the waters are not tropical.
The water's cold. So, but they get to close off the break too. So a normal break that we surf Oceanside or Pismo, wherever we've competed, Huntington, or even here, the beach is really crowded, but for competition, they make everyone go away. And then you get to surf some spots with only 2 to 4 people.
You get that
Yeah,
the space and the freedom.
Get it.
Yeah.
And not only do I get to be a competitive athlete, but these people are my friends. So I'm like, okay, this is fun.
That's great.
So,
John, Disability Pride Month celebrates the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. That law banned discrimination based on ability. But under the current administration, we've seen rollbacks to some of that guidance. Why is it so important to have groups like yours in this moment?
I think, especially in this time, understanding that the ocean is its own thing, and nobody owns it, and it's there for us. It produces and it provides, and it can heal, and it can be your best friend, and it can also be intimidating. And like Andy said, some people, they see it as the great big vast ocean, where we see it one wave at a time. And I think moving into things in life, you kind of want to step into it slowly, and you want to progress and build yourself up. And whether you're a competitive surfer or a free surfer, a soul surfer, or a kid belly surfing, the connection with the ocean is so important that it definitely supersedes, I would even say, many laws. It is its own unique life form, in that we get the chance opportunity to experience a moment with it. I think that's an incredible thing. And it's something that we want to make sure that as we grow our water safety system, that we have the support of different cities, different governments, different organizations who kind of understand that access to the ocean is a right for every single person, whether you're a San Diegan or you're visiting, our beautiful city here. That is your right, and we want to make sure that you have every right to access that, and that's coming from the ocean. So we're really appreciative of that.
Andy, you were nodding. Anything you want to quickly add to that? He says no. He summed it up. He said,
yeah, I think he did. He touched on the things that I was, going to allude to as well.
Excellent. Quinn?
John's the man. He's in charge.
All right. He said it all.
No, this is great. I mean, I think everybody listening, you could hear it in Andy's voice and in Quinn's voice. This is who they are.
Yeah.
This is who they are. So you have to support that. Imagine being a painter and being told you can paint once a year. Imagine being an author or a reader and you can read once a year. No, you want to read. You want to paint. You want to make music. Well, we want to surf, and we need your help. So thank you for having us on.
Putting a fine point on that. I've been speaking with John White, founder of Waves4All, also Andy Zirzow, competitive at Zirzow, competitive adaptive surfer, and Quinn Waitley, professional adaptive surfer. Thank you all so much, and happy surfing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, creating an inclusive space for dancers with wheelchairs when KPBS Midday Edition returns.
KPBS On Demand is supported by the National Conflict Resolution Center, geopolitics, polarization, budget concerns, all topics that can cause tension in the workplace. NCRC can help seasoned and emerging leaders navigate polarizing issues with the Culture, Communication, and Conflict Certificate. More at ncrconline.com.
Welcome back to KPBS Midday Edition. I'm Jade Hindman. On today's show, we're celebrating Disability Pride Month by highlighting adaptive programs in San Diego. We just heard from adaptive surfers with Waves4All, but now let's enter the world of dance. Wheelchair Dancers organization is built on the idea of inclusive dance. From Latin ballroom to hand tap, they believe in bringing everyone onto the dance floor. Joining me now is Rosalia Ariano. She's Executive Director of Wheelchair Dancers and a physical therapist. Also, Stephanie Nichols-Rodas. She's a dancer, board director, and community outreach specialist. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you both so much for being here. So, Rosalia, take me, into a typical dance class with wheelchair dancers. How would you describe the scene?
Well, I just came on as executive director in April. So, the class is held on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock at Parque de la Cruz. And it was a little rough in my schedule to try to get there at that time. So I finally was able to get to a class. You walk in, it's very welcoming. The space is open. We're in a gymnasium. The instructor starts welcoming everybody, warming up right away. And this last class that we went to, I got to be partnered with our founder, Beverly Wording. And so I got to learn how to be a partner to someone who's in a manual chair. But we also have some people like Stephanie, who's in a power chair, who Jason gives different cues for so that they could manipulate their chair as if, well, I'll steal your words, Stephanie, as if it was the extension of their body or their booty.
Well, Stephanie, how do you describe the scene?
Well, I am in a power wheelchair, and it's very hard to see people like myself out there because people think that you can't dance, right? So when I see another power wheelchair dancer, I'll get next to them, and I'm like, you just have to think as if you're an able-bodied. So if you see they're moving their legs to the right, just move your booty to the right with your other chair. And then the other way around. Keep your booty moving, and your legs will go with you. And it kind of works out.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, how did you get started dancing with the group?
Well, so I had a spinal cord injury accident back in 2017. And dance was for me my go-to when I was cleaning, washing dishes. Everything I did. I used to be dancing. I wasn't never a professional dancer, but I loved and enjoyed dancing since I was probably 3 years old. Mm-hmm. So when my accident happened and my injury happened at C4 level, and they told me that I was never going to be able to even breathe on my own, I just started doing rehab, meeting people, until I finally found Bev. Mm-hmm. They found her one time in an event, and I just saw her dancing and spinning and rolling in that wheelchair like there was no tomorrow. And I just saw her, and I was, maybe that could be me one day. Why not? When you come out of your comfort zone. So suddenly my amazing husband one day told me and said, like, you want to go to the class, your dancing class? And I'm like, sure, let's do it. And we were hooked. Since the minute we went into class, people were amazing. They were very welcoming. Jason was very patient. And it is very hard for him because there's not a lot of people in power wheelchairs, but he is amazing with me while helping me into how I can dance my body in my chair and show that to others. That's my main goal. My main goal since I started being part of this foundation is to get more people in power wheelchairs out there.
That's great. Well, and you often dance, as you said, you do duets with your husband, who's in the control room now. We can see him through the glass. Give us a wave. Hello, hello.
Yeah.
He's in there. What's it like? What's that like for the two of you to be able to dance together? It's so wonderful.
Well, it's totally out of my husband's comfort zone. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that. But he loves it. He really enjoys it. It's kind of like a connection into our love and our caring. I really have a very loving husband and a caring husband that does everything for me. I really call him my own Superman. And sometimes I feel selfish because I feel he should be out there in the world helping a million people, but he does, even by just rolling and dancing with me. I tell people he made my Cinderella story possible, and I will always be grateful with wheelchair dancers for that. Because you see me in a power wheelchair, but at that point, I had a group that believed that I could do it in a manual wheelchair. And even though I was tied up for a couple of times, the day that we did the showcase, it was magical. I was just spinning and rolling on my own that I couldn't even imagine the amount of work that it took to get that strong. You know, it's not only dancing, it's getting your body strong, it's building that confidence, building that friendships, showing up. You know, you're gonna show up. I don't remember when was the last time I did a dance in front of people. I think at the most was singing in karaoke bars and having fun. So Wheelchair Dancers Organization, it's my heart, and I will be there for them as long as we grow. And I just want people to feel what I feel, because even if you can't move your arms, there's always something that you can move. Your eyes. There's wheelchairs that have headsets that people can roll and go forward by blowing, go back by pushing a button. So I live in a world where everything is possible. Everything that you think it is impossible, that doesn't exist. Everything, every single thing that you can imagine is possible in any situation, no matter what.
Amen for that. Rosalia, you know, when you say this program is inclusive for all abilities, what does that look like?
So Wheelchair Dancers Organization envisions a world where both seated and standing dancers can share the stage. So people who want to dance, but maybe they don't have the stamina, or they need to sit sometimes. Maybe they can do both. Or someone who's in the chair for primary mobility, they can choose to still participate. And we do partner dancing, but we also do independent dancing. For example, in our showcase in October, the lead instructor is planning a line dancing. He said it was going to be like Saturday Night Fever type of style. And so that's independent dancing. But we don't... So people who are standers, able-bodied, and people who maybe have mild deficits, but different abilities are all welcome, regardless of whether or not you're standing the whole time, sitting the whole time, or doing both. We're trying to be. That's what inclusivity looks like to us. That you don't have to try out to be a dancer. You don't have to have a particular skill. You just have to want to come and have fun and do your best, and that's it.
And you're also a trained physical therapist. How does that background connect with your passion for adaptive programs like this one?
Yes, so I am a licensed physical therapist. Most of my clinical skill and education I used to teach here at the Doctor of Physical Therapy program has really that experience has led me to take on this role as a physical therapist. And you can ask any of my students who've ever taken my class, I'm always advocating for life beyond rehab. Our healthcare system is really built on survival mode and rehabilitation, and not the thriving, joy, live life, socialization part. So I've always encouraged my clients and the students to look beyond that rehab scope, to find resources out there, to find ways to get involved back into the community. And with this opportunity that Stephanie introduced me to, actually, I get to be directly involved now. And so I feel like knowing all the different sides of the rehab world and the limitations of it has really helped to guide me and get me prepared for this particular role.
Wow. Well, Stephanie, as Rosalia mentioned, you're having a showcase in October. What are you rehearsing for? How are you rehearsing for that? And what are you rehearsing?
Well, we are rehearsing 2 different styles of dance at our Latin ballroom class. It's kind of like a disco dance, and we're also doing a salsa part. For our solo this year, we usually do a solo, my husband and I, in my standing power wheelchair. So I try to do that standing. And we're thinking about tango this year. We're not pretty sure. We were thinking about tango last year, but it ended up doing rock and roll. So we might surprise you with something pretty cool.
Right.
We are starting to do it. I really about what you were saying about all abilities is that what I have seen through my injury and through my work with Wheelchair Dancers Organization is that unfortunately we live in a world where there's a lot of disabilities. MS, ALS, Parkinson's, spinal cord injuries. And unfortunately, injury or diagnosis, it's pretty hard for people to get out of their houses and out and about, and just to think that there's more out there, just like Waves for All, just for like wheelchair dancers. There's adaptive impact flying. There's so many things for us out there. So for me, it's very important to tell the people that even if it's only one leg, the one that you cannot move, you don't necessarily have to be in a wheelchair to go to our class. You can be an able body and go and experience what a wheelchair dancer will feel. So we have extra chairs that people can use and dance with them and see kind of like an experience of what we are feeling at that point and stuff. So I just want to invite everybody to our class, no matter your injury, no matter your diagnosis, no matter if you're just having a bad day, just wake up and show up. Put wheelchair dancers class in your calendar every Wednesday. We do it at Park de la Cruz from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Just put it in your calendar.
And Park de la Cruz, where's that?
Park de la Cruz, I believe it's
What side
City
of town?
Heights.
City Heights?
Yes, right on the edge of City Heights.
Okay, all right.
And it's completely free. So just decide to show up. I tell people, like, if injury or diagnosis knock your door, just remember you're not alone.
Before we go in the last minute, what does disability pride mean to you?
For me, it means that we are still part of this world and that we matter and that we can truly show people what they don't want to know, because truth is that nobody wants an injury or nobody wants a diagnosis. But if you're on the other side of it, you can always support that people, because if you need it at any moment in time that you need it, you can reach out to Wheelchair Dancers Organization, you can reach out to Waves for All, and we can just come a big community. That's my goal, to build a strong community no matter what.
All right. I've been speaking with Stephanie Nichols-Rodas. She's a dancer, board director, and community outreach specialist for Wheelchair Dancers Organization, also Rosalia Arellano. She's their executive director and a physical therapist. I want to thank you both so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Stephanie,
much
you're
for
on the
having
hook
us.
for the tango now. You
That's
said
it.
it on the radio, so it's got to happen now.
Fausto. Well, you guys have to come to the showcase to see it.
Thank you so much for having us, Jay. This is great.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Jade Hindman. Thanks for tuning in to Midday Edition. Be sure to have a great day on purpose, everyone.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Copa Airlines, offering nonstop service from San Diego to Panama with connections to Latin America and the Caribbean. The stopover program includes a stay in Panama before continuing to destinations throughout the Americas. More information at copa.com.